Hello again, good people. It's a cipher, and I am back. So, continuing on with my previous video about the infinite finality of time, I have another anecdote for you. Now, this one's similar, but slightly different. Okay, so we have a girl called Michelle. Now, Michelle came from a very good home. She had both parents who loved her very much, and they worked hard to provide Michelle and her siblings with a good life. Now, Michelle was not the most attractive girl. I suspect you could call her average looking. She wasn't particularly good in any specific area, but she was overall. She had everything where it should be. She had a nice hair. She had good skin. Michelle grew up in a household that really exemplified the benefits of personal development. Both her parents had skilled careers. She saw how hard her father worked to provide her and her siblings a good life, and she really appreciated what he did. Her mother really cared for her home and really loved, and was an attentive mother who did all she could to ensure the kids had a good understanding of the schoolwork that were provided, and really understood that they had a future available to them if they, and it could be pretty much anything they worked hard enough for, within reason, of course. So Michelle entered into high school, and she wasn't given a great deal of attention by boys or other girls. She kept mostly to herself because she wasn't considered ridiculously attractive. But as her parents had instilled in her the values of personal development, and she understood, and she didn't much care for the academics of high school, but it is what it is. But she did find she had a love of sprinting and hurdling. She found she was quite good at these things, and so she was regularly attending sprinting and hurdling at her school. And she got onto the team and did quite well, and went to national competitions and received quite a few medals and awards for it. She also had been playing an instrument from quite a young age, and she was quite gifted at it by her adolescence. So, two things in her life at this point that were of great importance was her training for her sport, or her personal sport, which obviously is sprinting and hurdling, and her music ability. And she started moving on to other instruments. She moved on to string instruments that she really also enjoyed. And so now at this point, Michelle is 20 years old. Now, most 20-year-olds in my country especially, they go through what's, I would consider it, a rite of passage. But the rite of passage into adulthood in this country consists of going out wearing the most ridiculously revealing clothing and imbibing some mind-altering substances that contain ethanol in high amounts. Now, this is apparently considered to be fun. However, Michelle had no interest in such a life. She really saw no benefit to her to participate in such things. She did enjoy going out into nature, and she did enjoy going out and dancing, but mostly her friends shared her sense of personal development, and most of her friends were working toward things. They were building their careers. They had taken into study earnestly. They were working to getting themselves good men to provide them with a good family. And so Michelle was also very interested in this. She had a desire to study something, but it was mostly music or arts related. She didn't have a great deal of academic desire to squander her time in university, because she believed that the traditional roles of men and women are what work best in a family situation. And Michelle desired to have a good family, as she had seen the model of a family from her own parents, and they were still married and loved each other very much. So Michelle continued with her studies in music and arts, and she kept up with her exercise. And now, obviously, she had now left high school and now moved on to the university track teams, and was still regularly training in that. And she was still keeping up with her skills of music and other such creative endeavors. She in between her study and was learning how to cook quite well for herself now that she had left home, and she was still in regular contact with her parents and would regularly catch up with them and her other siblings for a good dinner and a good get together and barbecues and what have you. But Michelle truly understood that to get herself a good man, to have a good family, she needed to essentially be what a man needed in his life, because Michelle knew that she was not big, she was not strong, but she was not able to provide the physical presence of a man in her life, but she wanted the masculine influence in her life to provide, the comfort and support, while she was able to provide skills that would very much enhance the ability to raise a child. As I say, she could cook very well, or she was increasing her ability to cook. She was very active. She kept a very good body. She kept herself very healthy. She ate well. She didn't imbibe alcohol. Her friend network was also very supportive of her endeavors. And around 24, 25, Michelle was feeling the biological tinglings of the desire for children. Of course she was. And she had, by this point, finished her degree in music and arts, and she was very much enjoying herself, working at a small cafe or some other menial hospitality job. She was enjoying her time, but she was also very much on the lookout for a good man. She as I say, she regularly socialized with her friends, and they were also starting to marry off. Yes, they were having supportive families and stuff like this. And eventually, Michelle, at around 24 to 26, was able to find herself a good man who had worked hard and was still up and coming in his career, and had also a desire for a traditional family. And Michelle had no problem with this. Michelle had essentially spent her entire life training to become a good mother, to become a good caregiver for the father of the children of her husband. And so Michelle gets married to this man, and after about 12, 18 months they get married, and Michelle, finds that she is pregnant. She's overjoyed with this news, and after the first child is born, she adjusts eventually to the new routine of an infant, and she adjusts to the new routine of being a mother. But she feels incredibly fulfilled. She feels as if her role is very much right, because she is living up to her biological imperative. And she knows that what attracted her husband to her was her brain. She was not an idiot, but nor was she also indoctrinated. She still believed in the traditional values of men provide, women care, and this as I have said previously, was indicated to her by her own parents. Her husband was by no means ever an abusive man. He would raise his voice from time to time, as was expected, given the fact he is human and a man. But he never raised his voice in anger at her. They had a good communication. That they understood each other very well, and they understood that for a long-term relationship to be possible, there had to be a distinct physical attraction. And Michelle very much loved her husband physically and emotionally, and vice versa. She still kept herself as healthy as possible. She had now altered her routine from her her younger days, from the sprinting and hurdling. She had now moved on to other things. But she still kept a regular exercise routine, and she kept herself as healthy as she could, because she wanted to be the best mother she could for her children. She wanted to see her children grow old, as any parent would expect to. Her husband was also reciprocated. He believed that he had a moral imperative to be as attracted to his wife as possible, and he did all he could to make sure that he was as healthy for her and as fit as possible, so he could provide well for his children and his wife. After having 2 children, Michelle and her husband decided that was nearly enough, certainly enough, and Michelle is now 40 at this point, and her children are close to 6 or 7. Oh, excuse me. No, Michelle is now 40, but her children are growing older, and they're starting to ask questions about the world and how things work. And her husband is now reached the position in his career that he's very comfortable in, and he can provide a comfortable income for them. And now Michelle is reaching her 50th year, and as her husband is somewhat older than her. He is now reaching the age of close to being retired, and Michelle is now seeing her children reach adolescence, or almost early adulthood, and she is imparting the similar lessons to them, that the best life one can have is by having a good, stable family and providing well for one's family, and appreciating the family that is available to one can have, and to embrace the biological roles that we are here to do, and to not reject them just because society says you are the incorrect sort of woman to reject, to not want to embrace the life of a family, to embrace the life of a traditional housewife. But Michelle is exceedingly happy, and on her deathbed, she is able to look around in her home at her congregation of children, grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren whom she has all had a relationship with. And she was able to appreciate the life she has led with her husband by her side. And he, with tears in his eyes, is able to say goodbye to his beloved wife and appreciate the life he has shared with her, and the children they have raised, and their own successive generations. And so the ultimate point is that the life and time we have been given cannot be taken back. The choices we make very much influence our future, and if we make the wrong choices, we're never going to be able to, almost never going to be able to recover from this. These are simply just some points for you to think on. Thanks for listening. Bye bye for now.